Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Al Freeman, Director of LCMS School Ministry. Thank you for joining us for Follow-Up Friday, all about admissions and enrollment, winning parents and influencing others. Well, that's our topic today, and I'm here with Will Van, the Manager of Online and Support Services for School Ministry. And Will and I are overjoyed to be with you today to talk about the topic and have some discussions with you hopefully as well. If there's questions or ideas that you would like to put forth as well, please do so. Normally we have our partner with us, Leanna Butterfield. Leanna was unable to make it today, so I said earlier today in our first run of this, Will, this is like going to New York City. And I've got tickets to the Yankees, and I'm all excited because I get to see Aaron Judge play, and then they take the field, and there's no Aaron Judge.
It happens.
It does happen. Sometimes that happens. So We're missing the prime player in Leanna, and she will be back for our next follow-up Friday and those that come after, because we still have these going on in August, September, October. I think, is October our last one or November?
October is our last one.
All right. We didn't want to have one at Thanksgiving. We thought it might be a turkey, so we decided to end them in October, which is always good. The jokes like that are not winning parents and influencing friends, right?
I think I have a button here for that. Nice slow clap.
Nice. I like the slow clap. I appreciate that. But we do have some good things to discuss today, so Will and I will roll through some items. Why don't I start us in prayer, and then we will have follow-up Friday. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this wonderful and glorious day that you've given to us, and especially the ministries of Lutheran schools. We give you thanks for congregations, churches, all the supporters of our Lutheran schools, our workers, our educators, administrators, and all who staff our Lutheran schools. We give you thanks for them and the great ministries that they have. We ask that you allow them the summertime to get some rest, relaxation, vacation time, rejuvenated so that they are ready to go for the blessing of a new school year coming upon us here in just a few weeks. We ask that you help us to reach out to families and to spread your precious gospel message to all that we encounter through our educational ministries of excellence. We ask that we always do all to your glory. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. So we have on the topic today of winning parents and influencing others, some things that we'll talk about. The first is just the great opportunity that we have as Lutheran schools. I like this statistic. It comes to us from a research group here, and it tells us that 80% of Christian school leaders report their schools have grown significantly. And Will, we crunch our numbers here in school ministry. Rosters and statistics helps us crunch numbers too. In fact, our schools, Lutheran schools, are supposed to submit annual statistic reports.
That's correct.
Will and I were just talking about this morning because unfortunately last school year only 68% of our schools provided those figures, which creates some angst for us as we try to figure out trends, growth to celebrate, concerns that maybe we could address to help our schools be successful. So we really encourage all of our schools to submit those annual statistics. But we do know through those that were submitted and through our travels throughout the United States in different districts and conversations that we have with education executives and school leaders, we are seeing growth in our Lutheran schools.
Yes, we are. In that cumulative annual report, Form 2 for NLSA, I can't tell you how many we've seen that are just showing this explosive growth. They're adding new classrooms, adding more teachers. There's just so many kids coming in. It's always great to see.
Not only students coming in, families, the opportunity that we have before us with new students, new families, and those returning families. But also in school ministry, we have something called the Genesis Project. The Genesis study will help congregations who are seeing an opportunity to start a Lutheran school, whether it be a classical school, traditional school, micro school. We have online schools. We have so many different school concepts and combinations that are possible. And right now, how many Genesis studies do we have going on?
I believe it's about 20 concurrent studies we have going on right now.
How many did we have in prior years? Well,
I think we've done maybe, 10 to 15 in the last 20 years?
Total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not counting this last year.
When we say there's tremendous opportunity and there's significant growth, that right there is describing just the opportunity we have before us for Lutheran schools. Those that are in place and have been operating maybe for 150 years, those congregations that see the opportunity to start a school and everything in between.
But, starting schools is great and everything, but it's really hard to do that when you aren't able to have anybody. So when it comes to schools and bringing in those families, those new students, prospective families and students, what would you say, Al? Do you think a better way to approach education is to view it sometimes as a customer service industry?
Well, I think that's going to be a lot of our conversation today, right? Is going to be know your consumer, know your customer, and know how to build those relationships, solidify the relationships, because we want return business in that sense or that concept. We want people coming back year in and year out, and we want them going out and recruiting others to come in as well. So a lot of what we talk about today will be that customer service mindset and aspect. And that's what we talk about in terms of winning parents. You saw before, I'll put it up there just again, 40% of parents now prefer private school option for their children. Well, there's a lot of different private school options. And we know there's independent schools, true private schools. And then, of course, there's religious-based schools, which we are. Sometimes parents don't even understand those options and those concepts. They just think private schools, so they're not really sure. So what we need to do is the new customers to us, that new opportunity, those who are saying, look, the public schools is just not fitting our needs anymore. What else is out there?
Well, and I look at from just kind of crunching our statistics that we have, we're seeing about 33% of students in our schools are coming from unchurched families. They are unchurched students, and we have that tremendous ministry opportunity before us with that. And the previous slide shows that, right? About 40% are not looking for religious, but they prefer the religious option.
Yeah, and I go around and present quite frequently. One of the items I talk about is the fact that over 2 million students, Gallup survey, over 2 million students left the public school system in the 2 years following COVID. Where are they going? You know, they're going a lot homeschool. A lot of them are going, though, to our faith-based schools, Catholic schools, Lutheran schools, Christian schools. Great opportunity to bring people into our ministries.
To bring in those people, you really, just like with any business, you need to know your customer. Who's coming to you and why?
Yeah.
And the slide that we see here is a really cool breakdown, I think.
Yeah, and I always say two things. And know who you are and know your customer, right? Because sometimes people don't know who they are as a business, and then they're all over the place. And why do most small businesses close? Because they never really know who they are. Mm-hmm. And we do. The other thing that they don't know and why they close is their customer. And that's what we'll focus on a lot today. So these customers, and again, you know, it's a phrase that we'll use. Really, it's parents, it's families, it's those that are going to be the promoters of our school, it's the members of the congregation. Some people may not like the word customer. They're our opportunity to spread the gospel message to them. And we want to make sure that we hit on what they're interested in. I throw this graphic up, and yeah, it's a little bit old, but the numbers still hold true. What are people looking at in terms of choosing a school? And this is obviously what are parents looking at. They consider very important. And here it's broken down in the total, the public school, the private non-religious, the public school assigned, and then the private school religious, obviously, that we're really zeroing in on. But what we see is number one there, and we know it's true not just this study, but across the board. You see the 69 there, safety, including student discipline. You see the 84, quality of teachers, principal, other staff, and then the 57, curriculum. So really, quality they want. So how are we telling them that we are a quality school, quality teachers, quality staff, that these are the individuals that you are sending your students to who are above and beyond awesome and capable to not only educate your student, but to do so socially and emotionally and academically and in all aspects, and yes, most importantly, in the faith.
Well, really, I think that comes down to part of your marketing campaign that you launched. You know, marketing, admissions, enrollment, they all go hand in hand together. Your marketing is what's capturing those families to provide interest. Then your admissions and enrollment is bringing them in and then having them sign, basically. Mm-hmm. Having them become those customers for potentially the next 8 to 12 years, right?
Yes.
Which is huge. I look at that, the second one, the quality of teachers, principal, and other school staff. Admissions, when going around taking tours, how important is it just to have the friendly, smiling faces, to have people willing to stop and talk and greet, but also if you have the opportunity, you stop in a classroom, the teacher comes and shares their passion. we can talk all about the fun jargon, right? But if we can showcase that passion, that quality of what we're doing, then there's so many potential opportunities for just capturing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fun jargon, Will, and I say this all the time. Speak in the vernacular, and we have so many terms that we use as Lutherans in the church, as Lutherans in our school. And we have many members of our congregation who have been Lutheran for years. They may have been born in the congregation, but even they don't sometimes know the language that we speak when we speak that, the Lutheranese, let's say. Remember, know your audience. Be basic. Speak in their language so that you're not putting them off, or you think they're understanding, and of course they're shaking their head, oh, yes, thank you. But then they go home and they have no clue what it is that you just said.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's easy to forget, right? Just even as educators, as professionals, we're always utilizing those fun acronyms because it saves us time. It's our shorthand. But to take a step back and be a parent, maybe think about you're an educator and you're, walking into NASA, let's say, and they just start throwing around all the jargon, and you're just going to kind of smile and nod and be like, all right, well, bye.
Well,
nice.
Yeah.
But it goes to the larger point of sometimes that vernacular can alienate potential customers, and we want to avoid that. And no one wants to feel dumb. Nobody wants to ask questions.
Exactly.
And you bring up the idea, we've heard it before, of people in their congregation where there's maybe specific titles and names for places, right? And 2 years, 3 years goes down the line, and maybe those members are kind of feeling a little off put because they never learned what that means. Same things happens in our schools, right? When we have fun terms we use and we throw those around, it can be a little off-putting to new people.
Absolutely, and speak their language, and to speak their language, ask your parents, ask your current parents. How is the best way to explain to prospective families and even to current families, quality teachers, quality administrators, quality staff? What's the language that resonates with you? I think far too often we know what we want to say and then we start saying it without asking the customer, without asking those that we are serving, and that's what we're doing as Lutheran schools. We're servant-based, right? So ask, listen. We have 2 ears that God gave us. Let's hear what they're saying and what resonates with our audience in terms of explaining quality teachers, quality staff, the words, the videos, the discussions that happen. And I mentioned this to Will before in an earlier episode today. Lifelong Lutheran. I was born in the Lutheran church in LCMS, and my whole life spent in it. And when we moved to Missouri, we went to our church, and they kept referring to things that were very specific to the church. And my wife and kids and I were looking at one another and just had no clue. We're totally lost. And my discussion with my wife, because I'm always analyzing things, is this is one of our issues. And as schools, this is something that we need to break down, not to do, that we have to think of people not knowing something first. Your expectation is they won't know this. They won't know the language. They won't know the location or some of these other things. So keep that in mind. Be very specific and inclusive when you're talking about this.
Well, and I've seen before where it's been suggested, we can just create a definition sheet. And the last thing you want to do is give your customers homework.
Or a quiz.
Yeah.
Here's all the language that we speak that you don't know. We're going to point that out to you, and now we're going to give you a sheet and expect you to study it and to know it. Mm-hmm. That's not winning parents.
Yeah,
and that's not getting influencers, right?
Yeah.
So what Will and I talk a lot about, too, one of the things I absolutely love is making things easy for people. When it comes to quality teachers, quality principals, school staff, ask a parent to give a testimonial and videotape that, and then take out a couple of the words, one-liners and stuff, and use that in your material. Put it up on your website, put it on your social media. Ask students to do that so that you have that. Ask teachers, to kind of explain what they do and how they achieve excellence and quality in the school and their interactions with the students. Hearing from people is great. And especially hearing from those that you're serving, the parents, the students, community, having them speak to your quality will resonate.
Well, and with those videos too, sometimes we see that, oh, well, we'll put the videos in Google Drive, we'll keep them unlisted on YouTube. Why? That's a fantastic marketing opportunity, and it's summertime, right? Not every teacher's in the building. You're not having students in the building when you're giving those tours around. So having QR codes on the classroom of a greeting from the teacher, having QR codes that scan for testimonials from parents and students, it's a great way, but also link them on to your most used or most contacted social media platform, if it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Have it go right to there, because now you have the potential to capture that family onto your Facebook. And as I always say, this is just a social media influencer practice. You always need a call to action at the end of every video. And usually it's just like, share, subscribe, things like that. But you can change that too for admissions. Well, if you like what you see, make sure to contact the admissions person to fill out an enrollment form.
Yeah, I mean, make it easy for them. Put the link on there, put the phone number on there, everything. You can embed so much in there, and including with the QR code now, your logo can go right in the middle as well. I'm a huge fan of utilizing QR codes. I think there should be a sign outside of every school and every church with a QR code on it, because you never know. Somebody might, and we actually had this happen a few times at our school where someone would come up and it'd be after hours. We had it happen a couple times where alumni were in town and were visiting, and it was on a Sunday afternoon, nobody's around. Click on the QR code right there out front though, and you get a little message, a little greeting from the administrator, you get a greeting from the pastor, you feel welcome. Here's a follow-up, the excitement, the joy, and even if we're not here, we're still here to greet you and give thanks that you've come to visit us today and that you're interested in clicking on the QR code. Classroom tours, I think that's another one. And in fact, summertime, as you said, somebody's not there. You can still, if you have a prospective family and you go to the third grade classroom in the summertime, you say, well, this is Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith's room, and they teach third grade. You can try to explain that, but it's so much better to click on the QR code and Mr. or Mrs. Smith pops up. Welcome to so-and-so school. I'm Mr. Smith, and this is third grade class, and this is what we do in third grade at ABC Lutheran School, and we're so excited for you to join us today. If you have questions, please contact me. Here's my email.
Well, and the teacher, too, is going to share the little things that happen in their classroom day to day, or those projects that you might not know about, and when you give them that opportunity to share the things they're passionate about, that comes across to any potential family members. But at the same time, too, we talk about potential family members, capturing them. Use this as a tool, too, to celebrate the family members that you already have. How many times have we seen, at least at my last position, where church gets out and the families just kind of walk over into the school building and they're peeking around. Well, that's an opportunity to connect them again to the classroom so they can learn about what's happening. And the best part is, you can update that pretty much all for free. It's just taking some time to put a new QR code to upload it, but you can keep relevant and up-to-date content available for anyone coming through.
Yeah, and a simple, quick 20-second lesson even, or something like that. There's so much to do. But now that's a way to show off quality teachers, the administrators, the engagement, show the excitement and the curriculum of the school. That's how you start to win parents. Winning parents is about building relationships, right? And if you could see the difference between telling them that Mr. Smith teaches third grade versus, and here's a short clip of Mr. Smith talking about and introducing you. Now I see the face, the name, the whole thing. I see what they're doing, their passion. I'm building relationships. I'm communicating. And that's what you're doing, is you're creating an experience.
And again, I always say, if you can get the teacher, though, in person to talk about it, always get the teacher in person, making that personal connection. So when a family member is going to be sending their child, they already know one of the teachers, and they're going to feel comfortable, and they're going to be excited, and they're going to start asking questions about, well, my kid's entering in 6th grade, but when can they do that awesome 7th grade class I learned about? Can they get in early, right? What's going on there?
That is always good. Build the anticipation. Safety, same thing, and be true to it. Parent concerns are always about safety now. Tell me about the safety of the school. That's typically a lot of times the number one issue. Here we see it was the quality of teachers. That was 18, 19. It's changed a little bit. I always see safety as a number one choice. Let them know. Let them know the community that you are, who you are as a school. I always say, let people know that you have safety as a mindset. That's who we are. We are concerned about safety of students, safety of our faculty, and so on, and here are things that we have in place.
Exactly.
And answer their questions. And, Will, last time you said another thing that's quite important, that is be honest, too.
Yeah, don't lie about it. Even if you see an issue that would never take place, that parent's going to notice it, and it's going to stay with them. So one of the things I liked, I saw it happen once from the admissions person when she was giving a tour, and then there was a door that was propped open that shouldn't have been propped open. She got on her walkie-talkie, notified the principal of, hey, we have our door open here. I'm closing it in case it's just a delivery man bringing in stuff for the kitchen or whatever. But then it shows there's also a proactive approach to dealing with issues.
Yeah, exactly. And something that could have easily happened is try to explain it away versus actually taking action.
Yeah.
People will recognize, well, you're taking action, so now I feel good about it versus you trying to explain it away. Here are some other things. Cato Institute put this out. Others follow suit, so you'll find this all over the place. Top 5 reasons parents choose a private school here. And again, this goes in line, and a lot of times we get lumped in with private schools. Again, the vernacular, though. A lot of families coming from public schools, the 2 million that have left and looking for another place, and the continued growth, many of them think private school, so they're not thinking faith-based school. So again, recognize your audience and explain faith-based school, explain Lutheran school. They're not necessarily going to know what a Lutheran school is. So be very basic and have these descriptions and these talking points that are concise, inviting, explanatory, and relationship-oriented.
But it also goes into lean into your identity, too.
Yes.
And don't shy away from being Lutheran either.
I always talk about a recent study from ACSI, Association of Christian Schools International. They surveyed over 3,000 Christian schools, talking about flourishing Christian schools, and I'll extrapolate that to Lutheran schools here. One of their top priorities was lean into your identity. People want that. People want faith-based school. They'll see it a lot of times as character. For us, it's not character, it's faith, and it's intentionality of who we are with the Lutheran identity as our faith, and explaining that and allowing them to then say, hey, I can see this now, and this is a great place for me to be. So better student discipline. Again, what families want to know, to them, student discipline means, is my child being cared for? And when there is disruption or conflict, how does the school handle it? That's what they really want to know. They don't want to know some of the other things that you could go on and on about. They just want to know the basics. Something happens, how is it handled? For us, it's handled in the best way possible through our faith, right? So we confront it. Yes, there's consequences, there's reconciliation, there's forgiveness, and we move on. So it is who we are as Lutheran schools.
And I look back to that middle portion right there. Only 38% of students in private religious schools had parents who indicated that the religious orientation of the school was important. 33% of our students unchurched.
Yeah.
And so ministry opportunity there, sharing opportunity to be, this is what being a Christian is. This is what being a Lutheran is, and leaning into that and sharing it, and then capturing them. I think it was just under 2,000 baptisms last year in the Lutheran schools.
1777. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Got to know the numbers. But I mean, that's crazy. That is a huge opportunity. And one of the best part about Lutheran schools is that infectious joy that's there, right? Those kids, especially the younger kids, they come home singing, they're happy, and that's being passed on to the parents. And, we're seeing what's happening with that then.
Well, it impacts the larger community. I will not forget a photo from one of our Lutheran schools this past year that 7 students were baptized at one time, and they sent us a photo of that. Just awesome. Excuse me. But again, with this, 38% coming in, and you talked about the unchurched will, 33% build relationships.
It is. It's all about building those relationships. And it's the core aspect of any admissions enrollment director is relationship building with the new families, but those current families too. We bring them in, and just like Leanna talked about last time, sometimes it's easy. We get them in, and then we forget about them, and, we don't do anything for them. But putting on those events and keeping them connected with the school, because the more they're connected with the school, they can see what's happening in there. They can see that their children are happy. They will start becoming influencers and recommending your school to other people.
Which is winning parents and influencing others. That's exactly it.
Oh, wait, I got something for that. Or
Oh, I like it. And here's the thing. And you said this earlier today, Will, and I think it's right on. When you walk into a business, and it's the same thing, you're walking into a school, you know right away if they want you there, if they don't.
Yep.
And it is how you feel and how you're treated and the attention. And that goes, again, return customer or new customer. Earlier today, I always use the case with Walt Disney and creating the theme parks and how he went and took his daughter to a carousel in the park, and it was all run down and everything else. And he said, I want a place to go. And one of his mantras was, I don't care if it's your first time at Disney or it's your 50th time at Disney, it should be the same great experience that makes you want to come back over and over again. And what better place than at a faith-based Lutheran school that somebody should walk in the first time and say, this is awesome, just the feeling, the interactions. And when you're there in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, all the way through 8th grade, every time you come in, it should be that same joyous interaction, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, and this takes me back to what we've seen in some of our focus groups, too, of, my kid went to public school but was friends with someone who was going to this school, and then the child that was going to the Lutheran school was always happy, talking about how wonderful it was, and then their child started asking, well, how come I don't have these opportunities, kind of thing.
Yes.
I'm making it sound far more advanced than it probably was, but parents start asking. So I mean, those students too, those are influencers for others, and once that starts being asked, how does that work? And then you start thinking about, you have families coming and bringing their precious little ones potentially as infants in the school. So you want to keep that magic all the way to, say, 8th grade. And then how do you transition them on to high school? You have lifelong customers at that point.
Exactly, yes, who will generate other lifelong customers for you. We talk a lot about Net Promoter Scores. Always getting feedback from your people to find out what is it that you're doing well. What are you not doing so well? What should you keep? What should you drop? What should you change? We do encourage you to constantly be taking surveys, at least on an annual basis, to get that feedback and figure out how to tweak these things. And really, you want those net promoters, those on a scale 1 to 10 that are the 9s and 10s. We're always going to have those passive individuals who are, and then, of course, those detractors. So you want to kind of keep a knowledge of your net promoters.
Well, and keeping it in this modern idea, too, of social media, of online presence. So your net promoters, they're going to champion your school online. They're going to go everywhere you ask them to, Google reviews, niche, Facebook. You're passive. You might get a few who, whatever, they're asking me to do it, I'll complete it. I like them. But then your net detractors. And how often do we see online when there is negativity, people instantly feed off of it? When I was working as a director of IT, I saw that all the time. You'd get one angry parent, starts an angry Facebook group that keeps it private, and then all of a sudden you have like 50 people, 50 parents on there griping, and things get out of hand.
Well, we're just looking at hotels coming up for a little trip, and we noted a couple of the bad reviews of this hotel that had tens of hundreds of positive reviews, but the couple that you focus on are the negative ones, knowing,
Well,
oh no, that's not what's going to happen to us, right?
And even if you look at your own personal shopping habits, what do you do on Amazon? You're not looking at those 5-star reviews. You're saying sort by 1-star review and see all the problems that I'm going to have right away.
Exactly.
So overcoming those net detractors is huge.
So I used to teach economics class with a colleague and friend of mine, and he came from the business world. And one of the things that we would always tell our students is a high school class, happened to be seniors, and it was think like a customer, act like an owner. We should always be thinking like a customer. What is it? What's my experience like? What experience do I desire when I come in? Let me take a look with my eyes, hear with my ears, talk to people. I want to think like a customer.
And on top of that, think about how customers act now. They're looking at every potential option. They're doing cost-benefit analysis, whether they know it or not. And they're doing that with our schools and with so many different websites. And one of my personal favorites, schooldigger.com. So you can view all of the public school information to cost to educate a child. I was looking here in St. Louis, one of school cost to educate a child public schools, $114,000.
Wow.
Granted, it's a special school district, so they need a lot more,
wow.
but that's
a lot of money.
Steep price tag. And then you start looking at what is the cost to educate a child within the Lutheran school. And as a leader, you should know that information. As an admissions director, you really should know that information as well, because that's something that you can promote.
Finance Fridays that we
Hey.
held before. We talk a lot about knowing the cost to educate a student, empty seat cost, and so on. You see some of the other factors up there: better learning environment, smaller class sizes, more individual attention for their child. I kind of bring all those together. And what I always say is drive the narrative. So before the parents are asking these questions, you're already driving the narrative, saying these are the positive things about our school. What do we always hear about Lutheran schools? Relationship, family environment. The teachers know the students by name. They know the students' activities. They know the parents. We're proactive about communication in these items. That's all of the questions that you see right here. While parents are saying smaller class sizes, that's because that's what's out there in the media, smaller class size, because they think smaller class size equates to better learning, teacher will know my student's name, and so on. In Lutheran schools, it's more that we know our students' names. We build the relationships. We get to know them in the hallway, at co-curricular activities, at church. We know them throughout. We know the parents. We know the individual. We don't just know them as a whole.
In some cases, we even know their siblings.
We do. Absolutely. So these are some of the things that we should be driving as this is what we excel at. And while the narrative is out there, smaller class sizes, we could have a class of 30 students in our Lutheran schools, but we're so successful at the relationship-driven aspect of it and the personalized learning that they hear as parents. So if you want to win parents and influence others, drive your narrative talking about the relationships, the environment, students getting to know one another. Is there conflict? Absolutely. And that's a good thing because we learn how to get through the conflict successfully in a faith-based way. The communication that we have, the knowledge that we have about each individual child, that is a strength of our Lutheran schools.
It really is.
So with that, I always say, again, drive the narrative, have quick hitters. I learned an awful lot in my career. We had a great admissions person when I was head of a 6 through 12 school who taught me an awful lot about admissions. I also had the joy of traveling overseas. I did a lot of international student recruitment, took a lot of trips to China, and a couple of trips that I took were with admissions directors of other schools. A couple were Catholic schools, a couple independent schools. The one I put up here because, I hate to single out a single Lutheran school for anything, so I'll show you something from a different school. This was a great admissions director from a school that's in Arizona. And one of the things he taught me was quick infographic one-hitters. And I really like this. Well, you might have a different opinion on it one way or the other because you're much more into these things than I necessarily am. What I liked about it was it tells me an awful lot about the school very quickly, and it drives our narrative.
Yeah, so I actually like infographics.
I feel better now that
Yeah,
you didn't shoot it down.
And the great thing about infographics is you can either make them a nice clean look, like this one. I think it looks a little cluttered, but it's trying to convey that there's so many opportunities here. And you can focus in on one area at a time, and then you can start making connections. I like that. One of the things I think, though, is if you're making an infographic, you also want to make sure it can be something that's printed out, and do it on like a nice cardstock. Something that's going to be a little harder for them to fold, something that they can take and look at, and it is visually appealing too. That's the other big hitter on that. But this infographics also go to websites, your social media, all of that information. Make sure that when you have a logo, information you're putting out there, it has your contact information.
Yes.
People know who you are.
I say this all the time to Will, and even in this position right now, sometimes I'll have to locate a Lutheran school and call a Lutheran school, and will say, well, why don't you just use the LCMS locator? Because I like to see what's out there. So a lot of times I'll look online and I'll do a search for the school just to see what comes up, and then I'll go to the website, and will hear me yelp a little bit here and there if I can't find the phone number right away. I should not have to search for the phone number. I should not have to search for the address, because again, think like a customer, act like an owner. As a customer, what am I looking for? Contact right away. If I got to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and go to the contact down there, I might leave.
Yep. And it goes to if your contact information isn't immediately available on your swag material that you're giving out to prospective families or email, think of your contact info as like a passive call to action, right? It's going to be sitting there in their face. They'll start thinking about it, and then you're trying to monopolize on that opportunity that they might pick up the phone and call one day.
Yeah, and sometimes what I really like is when it pops up when I go to the website and you have the pop-ups and the phone number pops up right away, contact us, because then I don't have to look at all. It's just right there. But again, I think this was a great example of some ways to do this.
It's also a great way to train your faculty and staff members on those fast facts. Right?
Absolutely.
Because every single one of your faculty should be able to tell you who you are, what you do, why you're there serving the community.
Yeah, the why is so big.
And it needs to be that consistent messaging. Just like Dave Kushel talked about in Tuesday Talks.
Yes.
You can find that on LCMS School Ministry YouTube.
And consistency. You talked about Tuesday Talks. That's one of the things that Dave talked about, being consistent in the messaging. Everybody knows the message, the elevator speech, the quick hitters. You're right. This is a great way to do it.
And you got to train your staff first, but then those net promoters, those parents that are your net promoters, you want to train them on the fast facts too. You want them to be able to, in the middle of the grocery store, talk about who, what, when, where, why of the school, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, and be able to rattle it off. I'm always big on this hospitality. I think it's so important. Again, this goes to think like a customer, act like an owner. Hospitality, significant. When I arrive on campus, is there a parking place for me? What if I'm a visitor and I'm just popping in because I saw your school and I drove by and I want to find out some information? Is there 15-minute parking or something like that we see in some businesses these days? If I'm coming for a specific visit during the school year in the summertime and I've set an appointment up, is there a name up on a parking sign for me and my student's name? Students love to see their name up, right?
Oh, they do. It goes to this, though, with the idea of the parking spot. And the parking spot needs to be close to the front entrance and well documented where it is. There's been a few times where I go into a school. I know this happened to you all the time as an ed,
Yes.
right? Go into a school and you have no idea where the front office is. So now you look like the creepy person walking up, knocking on doors, side doors, asking what's going on. Make sure you have that marketing of where your front door is, and is it an inviting place to come into?
Yeah, if you want to win parents, make sure you communicate all this ahead to them. There's a parking spot reserved for you. You'll see it. Your name will be on the sign. Here's a map of the campus. This is where we'll meet you when you come in. Ask for me, and here's my name. Here's my cell phone number in case you have any questions, things like that. Again, that's the customer service side of it that is going to win parents versus the now I'm frustrated, I'm showing up. You might have a great school, but I'm already angry because I don't know anything.
Well, there was one school, I'll share this, that I thought I was parking in the correct location, and then I ended up having to walk all the way around the school building, which was like a quarter-mile walk. And, you know, if they're coming from their job and they're wearing business casual clothes, they don't want to be looking sweaty either.
Don't frustrate them.
Exactly.
Right? You know, make it easy on them. And when they do come inside, make sure that they are greeted. TV, if you have it in the front lobby, have the name of the family up there and welcome and everything else. When they come in the office, they're probably going to be seated initially, have water there, have some snacks there, have your infographics out there, have the materials.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The other thing too, though, is just the a smile with the greeting. It's transformative. It really is. It's all about that customer service mentality of you have a new customer coming in, your front office is making an impression, and who is your first point of contact going to be for that family when they come in? And if you are the admissions director or you're the principal and you're indisposed at that moment, who are they going to talk to? And what does that training look like for that individual?
And is there someone or are there individuals you don't want them to talk to and interact with? That should be a question you ask yourself too.
That is true.
And then what are you doing to confront that as well, right? Because we need a positive, joyous environment. We're in a Lutheran school. We should be joyous about the ministry that we have and what's going on there. So those are conversations to have.
And it is that bring the joy. That was a good segue right there.
It is. Right? Bring the joy. Absolutely. And I will say too, you know, think about it. I've had some bad experiences. Every time I go somewhere, I always go with the mindset of what are they doing that I can educationally acquire, sometimes steal. What are they doing that's good for us to do or to talk about? What are those things that I feel like could be done better? So I'm looking for things even like the pictures they have up. I went to one admissions place that I was visiting, you know, a school I was visiting for admissions, and their wall had all kinds of the activities going on and student faces and everything else. You might go somewhere else. What do they have? They have buildings, pictures of buildings. You go to a website, it's a picture of a building. That building's not going to speak to me. The faces, the smiling kids, the parents, the chapels that are going on and photos of that, the hallways, the classrooms, the interactions, that will speak to me.
Well, this is always my pitch too, is never use stock photos for any of your marketing material. Especially any marketing material that goes to prospective families. That just looks bad. And never use AI-generated images. It sounds like an easy out, but don't do it, right? Your job is celebrating the school. And celebrating the school means showcasing all of the things and people and activities that are happening inside that school. So don't be afraid of it. Celebrate it, promote it, and love it.
One of the things I would talk about, too, is bring a real estate agent in. We all have real estate agents, members of our churches, friends of ours, whatever. They're always glad to help. Let them come in and say to them, look, I'm not going to tell you anything. I want you to come to the school like you're going to sell it, like one of your properties that we would put up for sale. Come in, walk around, do the whole thing, and tell me what looks good and what you would change. I love that because, you know, it could be things that we walk by all the time that we think is fine, or we don't even, our attention doesn't get called to it. Their attention will, because that's what they work with.
Well, and people like to be heard, and they like to be heard in their profession. So if you're asking a realtor to come in who also might be a family member of the school, right, or the congregation, what's going to happen?
Or selling homes to people who could.
Right? So what happens then? They're going to be that net promoter. Your school name is going to be the first one they mention when those family members ask, what are some good schools in the area?
Yeah, and I always used to say, too, bring the community real estate agents in that are close around you that are selling the homes. Invite them into lunch and talk about your school during lunchtime. Provide a free lunch for them. Provide them some pamphlets and stuff to put in it. Right? Exactly. Provide pamphlets for them to put in their materials and everything else, because those are questions families ask real estate agents. Tell me about the schools in the area. Well, there you go. You've just shown them your school.
And this is all about winning parents. And who is going to be that really, who is the first point of contact for new family members moving into a community?
Yeah.
They're
and who are your influencers, right?
Yeah, they're a huge influencer.
Yeah, and we go out when we do Genesis studies for school starts or addition of grades, Lutheran school consulting visits that we're talking about, and adding additional grades because schools are growing and so on. One of the individuals we normally ask to speak with is a real estate agent or two, because we want to find out what's the reputation of the school, what's the community like, what is the community growing, and so on.
Well, and if you have time and if they have time, you have to be respect their time. Ask them to give you a tour, because they're going to show you where are the growth locations, where should you be pinpointing some of your marketing. And then if you're able to get those family members who have moved into, say, a new development, right? Yeah. Well, new people are moving in there. They're going to start trying to make connections. And your family members are now a hub to bring more people into your school.
That is an outstanding tip. Yeah, and something, again, we do in the Genesis study. You have to know the why, and you have to be consistently talking about the why.
And why is that?
That's lean into your identity and who you are. The why should demonstrate the passion of the educational ministry that you have. It should show people the passion that you have for spreading the gospel message in that educational environment, the passion you have for your students to grow educationally, grow academically, socially, spiritually. That's why we have Lutheran schools, and we package all of that together. You better be able to demonstrate the why, talk about the why, and show the passion in your voice and just the way you handle yourself, the why.
Now, the thing I'll add to that, though, is you need to be unique
in
your why. Why not? You need to be unique in your why. How many times do we see in schools, too, where their mission statement is serve children in education, providing the, insert generic topic here, right?
Yes.
So your mission statement, that's something to focus on, but it should be unique to you, because that's your why right there.
Yeah, so I used to, I changed our mission statement to ministry first, excellence always. A lot of people, well, that's not a mission statement. Or I used to say it is, because everything we do is about ministry first. How are we impacting who we are as a Lutheran school? We're called to spread the gospel message always in all things that we do, in all places that we are. And we're called to excellence, not mediocrity. Now, excellence is a bar that's very tough to achieve, because you're always reaching for it and never really hitting it in that sense. But again, that's what we're called to do, is always growing, always asking, are we giving our best to those that we are serving, and how can we do that better each and every day?
Well, and in that mission statement you have there, that's a fast fact. Everyone can memorize that.
Yeah, I did it because of that too.
And you want that to be memorized by everyone, your students, teachers, principals, support staff, parents, everyone. And keeping it short and sweet like that answers your why right away and allows for a deeper conversation to happen.
Exactly, yeah. Thanks for that, Will. I appreciate you verifying my mission statement there. People told me that that's not really a mission statement.
Oh,
that's good.
Should I slow clap that one?
That would be a good slow clap.
No, I won't do that.
Oh, Will. Create influencers. I'm going to let you take this, Will, because you look to create influencers all the time. We got YouTube influencers and influencer here, influencer there. That's the big term of today.
It is. It's the term we throw around. But I like to view influencers as best way to describe it is that social media influencer. And what do you notice about every social media influencer, beyond that maybe they're doing crazy stuff, it's that they are happy about what they're doing, and it's in the tone of their voice whenever they speak. How many times have you heard an influencer, especially a really popular one? It's monotone. Just shows no emotion, right? That's not going to be engaging. Influencers.
That's why I'm never an influencer, right? Well,
no, you are. See, look at you. You're influencing on admissions and enrollment. No, influencers are the people that are going to be promoting your products, right? And when you're looking in the marketing industry, you have social media influencer marketing. Well, we need to look at that for schools, right? We need our school influencer marketing, and that's going to be our parents. And how do we do that? Well, same way in social media influencer marketing, they are receiving some sort of benefit, whether they're promoting a product and they're receiving cash from it. One of the favorite things I've seen is in schools where if you're a parent and you've brought another parent in and they've gone through the enrollment process, offering $50, $100, $200 off tuition because they brought someone in. It's that media influencer kind of mentality.
And I would say I can hear some Lutheran school people, congregation people saying, well, I don't believe in that. And think about your perspective and their perspective. This is where I'll go back to think like a customer. No, today's parent is different than yesterday's parent.
That's correct.
Especially in the lower grades, we're seeing new parents, new perspective. They're thinking influencers. They're seeing influencers. They know what influencers are doing this for, and they're getting, if I'm for instance, one of our people in the SLED program, School Leadership Development Program, is an influencer locally and goes out to restaurants and did it for fun initially, and now has become an influencer, has a large following. And restaurants will actually reach out to her and ask her to come in and eat there and review the place, and they get a free meal because of that, as well they should, because they're bringing traffic in for that restaurant to make money. So that's a concept that people are thinking today. So again, know your audience too. Know the parents and the different ranges of parents and different ideas and what they're looking for.
Well, I also say too, look at what you're doing online as a brand, right? Your school is a brand, as much as maybe we don't want to admit that, but we are.
It is, yeah.
Your school's a brand, and if your school has a social media channel on Facebook, YouTube, you need to start marketing it. And it's been popular. Give it a little bit of a personality, and have that personality be reflected in that mission statement, in that why.
And also make sure and remember, brands get brand recognition by consistency.
It's true.
So I will see a lot of our schools today, you talk about not winning parents and not influencing others because you're all over the place. Be consistent. Have consistent messaging. And with the brand, I see some of our schools out there that will have different colors and different T-shirts, and the lettering of the school on all these different groups that they have will be spelled in different ways, and the logos will be transcended in different ways. Be consistent. McDonald's took a while before people knew them as the Golden Arches and see the M and O automatically, or that UPS by the brown truck. It takes a while to get to that level.
But again, it's that consistency and engagement, and that's what people look for. The other thing, though, to keep in mind, too, is, and we talked about this, it only takes one time for a bad experience to permeate people's understanding of that brand, right? So if you are running your school's Facebook or YouTube, if you speak back in a way that's going to hurt your brand, that's going to leave a bad impression, and you always have to be careful.
I almost hesitate to bring it up, but I will. I mean, a great example of today is Bud Light. Look at their brand right now.
Oh, they didn't know their audience.
And they did not, and they deviated from that and thought that they could. And obviously, now they went from number 1 to number 14 right now and continue to fall in terms of product sales. So
it is.
Be true to who you are. And as Lutheran schools, it's even more important to be true to who you are.
And it goes to that idea, too. If you are having parents who are going to be acting as influencers, you need to make sure that you have the rock star parents. I'm not necessarily saying you cater to every whim, right?
Exactly.
But it's walking a fine line, because sometimes those people who are your high net promoters will also become your major net detractors. And keeping that in mind and being sensitive to all situations is important.
Yeah, know your people. Let your people know you.
Yep.
I mean, be true to both. So
exactly.
And you can do that. It's successfully done. With that said, we appreciate your time in joining us. If anybody has any questions, we'll field any right now. We just have a couple minutes here. Is there anybody who has a question or something they'd like to share? Well, this is usually where I throw it over to you to see on the big board if there's any.
Currently, I see nothing in chat.
All right. Well, if there's nothing out there, we know it's Friday and everybody's excited about a weekend and the opportunities ahead and rest, relaxation, or taking advantage in some fun activities outside or wherever else. So we thank you for joining us today and letting us talk with you about enrollment, admissions, and winning parents and influencing others. We do have future episodes coming up. August 18th is the next scheduled episode. Leanna Butterfield will be back with us at that time, and then September, October episodes on tap as well. So we encourage you to join us at those.
We also have a new series that's just launched. I recommend checking that out, called Wired Wednesday. They're going to be, they're pre-taped videos. I'm trying to keep them under 10 minutes. The goal is 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. Covering technology for the classroom. So I know you might not necessarily be in the classroom, but you do have teachers, and you can be a net promoter for us.
That's right.
On Wired Wednesday, where we take a look at different pieces of educational technology and how to integrate it within the classroom.
Absolutely. So this is your call to action, Will. Join our...
well, which one do you want to join?
All of them.
All of them? Okay. Check out our YouTube, which is LCMS School Ministry, our Facebook, LCMS School Ministry, and our Twitter, LCMS School Ministry. That's consistent branding right there.
That is.
Do like, share, subscribe, share this video as well on our different from our different social platforms. And we are excited and looking forward to seeing you in the next one.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you. Thank you for your ministry, for your work, and for joining us today, and for all of our Lutheran schools around the country and the world, as they are a blessing to so many. Blessings to you.